Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we'll be starting with Environmental Studies Part 2. In Part 1, we covered many varieties of topics like biodiversity, ecosystem, ecotone, and other topics. Today we'll be covering basically the types of pollution. Then we'll be seeing some case studies based on them. We'll be seeing Bhopal gas tragedy, disaster management. Let's start. First of all, let's understand again what is biodiversity as it is the foundation when we are studying all of the various types of pollutions. First, we need to identify and also understand what biodiversity is. It basically refers to the variety of living organisms that are present on Earth. There are three types: genetic, species, and ecosystem. In case of diversity of species, that is the second one, it is representing the variety of species in a given area, like cow, crow, then this is pigeon. Diversity of ecosystem, variety of habitats, ecosystems, and communities is diversity ecosystem. Diversity of genes basically is referring to your genetic variation, like in the case of humans also. So these are basically your three types. Difference in DNA, variety of species, and variety of habitats and ecosystem. So importance is that it maintains the ecological balance. We get food and medicine, climate regulation, and economic value associated with it. Next, we come to its conservation. Now we have done this in our first lecture, but it's a revision, so let's do this also. So in situ conservation, it is when we are protecting within the natural habitat, like national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, and biosphere reserves. In ex situ, we protect outside the habitat, that is zoos, botanical gardens, seed banks. Now, one case study that you can refer to for this topic is Tiger Conservation Project, which was started in 1973. Now, biodiversity conservation, like we saw, one is in situ and ex situ. Now, in situ, you have these examples where in biosphere reserves, you have two types: terrestrial, that is land, and your marine, water life. So these are the two types. Rest I think we have covered. So do refer to this. And the difference table says conservation of endangered species within their habitat and outside their habitat. They are protected from predators. These are protected from adverse factors, all adverse factors. Population recovers in natural environment. Offsprings produced in captive breeding, released in natural habitat. Like when you ship them to zoos and all, they are not exposed to the forests and the natural area where they belong to. Therefore, the role of captive breeding comes into picture when they have to produce the offsprings. Next, now we see air pollution. Air pollution is caused by vehicles, industries, burning fossil fuels, and construction dust, like we may have seen. Its effects are respiratory diseases, acid rain, global warming, and smog. How you can control air pollution? By catalytic converters, public transport, green belts, and electrostatic precipitators. So now, we have seen air pollution. Now next, we'll be seeing catalytic converter under this, which is a control measure. So it is used to convert your harmful gases into less harmful. Sometimes it's not possible to have a cleaner gas, but a less harmful gas is sometimes possible. So we'll be seeing CO, NOx, hydrocarbons, one is NO2, SO2, and so on. Now, this is how a catalytic converter works, where your exhaust gas is sent to the catalytic converter and it converts the gas into a cleaner gas. We'll be seeing how catalytic converter operates within. Right now, we are seeing a broader prospect on how this works. Water pollution. Now, water pollution sources are sewage, industrial waste, and agricultural runoff. Important terms that you should know is BOD and COD. Biochemical oxygen demand, chemical oxygen demand. Now, basically, they both are your indicators that measure the pollution in water, basically used in wastewater treatment. The effects can be waterborne diseases, low oxygen in water, death of aquatic life. Now let's see a effluent treatment plant, ETP, how it works. First, the wastewater is sent for your screening process, then sedimentation, then sent to a aeration tank, clarifier, filtration, disinfection, and then your treated water is sent out. So as we can see in the process, it is used to remove the pollutants and improve the water quality. So first, the wastewater is sent for screening. That is, let's say X-ray in case of human body. Then we want these sediments to go down. Then it is sent to a aeration tank. Then we try to clarify the tank. Then we filtrate. Have you seen a filtrate funnel? So the rule is that all the mud, all the sediments get separated and we get the clean water. Then we apply a disinfectant and then we get the required water. We call it treated water. Next, land pollution. In land pollution, we have plastic waste, industrial waste, pesticides. E-waste is also there, that is when you discard your electronic devices like your phone. Now I've mostly seen that people have started discarding their wired mouse. So that is also a type of an e-waste. The harmful metals that are present are mercury, lead, cadmium. We will be seeing some Japan case studies also. Now the solution can be first is EPR, extended producer responsibility. It is the responsibility of the producer for efficient making and disposal of the waste. Second, manufacturers collect and recycle products. Like you know, if I don't know, you may be knowing, but some companies that make phone, they take back their old phone as a e-waste. And then the parts that can be recycled, they are recycled, rest are disposed properly. Next is your case studies that I was talking about. First is in Japan, there was a mercury poisoning, which led to, you can say, a nervous system damage. There was also a cadmium poisoning, bone kidney damage. These all were a major cause was your improper e-waste disposal. Improper e-waste recycling causes heavy metal contamination. Next is your solid waste management, where we'll see a 3R principle, that is reduce, reuse, recycle. First is minimize, minimize. Then is use again, reuse. Then convert to useful products. Like you may be seeing right nowadays, companies are making bags out of combining many plastic bags are converted to make a bag. They are making a fiber out of plastic, which can be used as a cloth bag when you take things in malls and all. Right now, it is started. So these are, you should know some applications also based on them because they could be asked, explain with the help of example how 3R principle can be applied to our daily life. Waste management process includes collection, segregation, recycling, and then final disposal. Engineered landfill. Now there are some features. First, let's understand the features and then we'll understand how it's formed. Features are its collection, gas venting. Now, mostly you may be seeing when there are landfills, there's a lot of smell. So is meant by gas venting out. So groundwater protection. This is very important because these landfills are affecting our groundwater reserves also. So basically, on the top you have your cover soil, then you have your waste layer in engineered landfill. Then you have these pipes, clay and HDPE liner, and then finally you have the groundwater. So from the waste layer, your contaminated water is reaching to the groundwater. So basically, these would be helping in betterment of a groundwater resource. Next, we have disaster management. In disaster management, we have one cycle, that is mitigation, then disaster. Disaster. First is your disaster, then is your response to the disaster, recovery, preparedness, and mitigation. This is a cycle. Now, emergency response, you undergo rescue operations, medical aid should be there, shelter and food, and public communication for so as to where the impact was more. So, communication plays a key role. Now, this is a question where we have to differentiate between a earthquake and a cyclone. So, in case of an earthquake, it has a sudden occurrence, where in cyclone a forecast is possible. In the earthquakes, buildings collapse, flooding happens in cyclones, rescue is a focus in earthquake, while evacuation is a focus in cyclones. Last point is very important. Next is Bhopal gas tragedy. This happened in 1984 due to a gas named methyl isocyanate, MIC. Now, what the causes were basically a poor maintenance, safety failure, and leakage from tank. The human effects were that thousands died, lung diseases in many people, eye irritation, and breathing problems. Environmental effects include soil pollution and water contamination. As you can see in the photo also, many were affected. The groundwater reserves were affected, medical emergencies, people had respiratory issues. The lessons learned is need for industrial safety, strict laws and emergency preparedness. Need for laws. Need laws. Second, safety. And third is always stay prepared. Now, renewable energy. The alternative sources, basically, the energy sources include solar energy, wind energy, and biomass energy. A windmill, a solar panel, basically, these are used. Benefits are they reduce pollution, sustainable development, and energy security. Some Indian policies include one is a national solar mission, and second is a biofuel policy. In Singapore, air pollution was a major issue, so it was controlled using electronic road pricing ERP, strict vehicle ownership rules, strong public transport system. So basically, we need to ensure that we have a better public transport, promote EV vehicles, though they may be expensive at this time, but later on, as we evolve, as we have better technology access, we may have cheaper or approximately the same cost of like petrol and diesel vehicles. Congestion control. Next is bioremediation. This is a very important topic where we use of microorganisms to degrade our pollutants. In in situ, we have bioventing, biospurging, and ex situ, we have land farming and biopiles. As you may see, in situ, ex situ, then we have intrinsic, engineered, slurry phase, solid phase. Now in slurry phase, we have only bioreactor. In solid phase, we have biopiling, land farming, composting, and biofilter. In engineered, we have biosparging, bioventing, bioslurping, biostimulation, bioaugmentation, and natural attenuation. Now, from this slide onwards, we'll be focusing on our questions based on the topics we'll cover till now. Right now, we covered the basics on what are the causes, what are the effects, what are the lessons that we could have learned. Now we start with the questions part. First question is on benefits of biodiversity and its conservation. So basically, the benefits of biodiversity include one is your food and medicine. It provides food crops, fruits, medicines, timber, fuel. Many are even derived from plants and microorganisms. Second is ecological balance. To maintain your ecosystem stability, nutrition cycling, pollination, and climate regulation is a major task to ensure our ecosystem is stable. Third is your economic benefits. In economic benefits, industries such as agriculture, fisheries, tourism, pharmaceuticals depend on biodiversity. Fourth, scientific and cultural value. Biodiversity supports research, education, recreation, and cultural traditions. Now, in methods, we have seen in situ protection in their natural habitat, ex situ outside their natural habitat. You should know at least two examples like national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, biosphere reserves, terrestrial and marine. I hope you all remember. And next we have botanical gardens, zoos, seed bank, and gene banks. Right now there is a concept of gene editing. This is very important from exam point of view. You could be asked as a case study. Next, we have afforestation and reforestation, planting trees to restore a degraded ecosystem. Environmental laws and awareness, implementation of conservation laws and Public participation, very important point. Now, case study like we have done, Project Tiger, launched in 1973 to protect tigers and their habitat. It helped increase tiger populations through protected reserves, anti-poaching measures, and habitat conservation. Important. Next, engineered landfill. This is your proper diagram where you have a cover soil, waste layer, compacted garbage, your collection pipes, impermeable, matlab, which cannot penetrate down, liner, and your groundwater monitoring. Component is cover soil, prevents odor and pests. These pipes collect the contaminated liquid. Impermeable liner prevents your groundwater contamination, and monitoring wells check the groundwater quality. Now, some technical precautions with respect to this is proper site selection. It should always be away from your residential area and any water bodies because that can be contaminated. Use of impermeable liners to prevent the groundwater contamination. Then methane gas collection and venting, daily soil cover to reduce odor and insects, very important. Groundwater monitoring system and segregation of hazardous waste. Next is industrial pollution and sanctuary protection. First is your Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981, where industries must obtain a pollution control consent. Emission standards were enforced by the Pollution Control Board, that is PCB. Monitoring and penalties for excessive pollution. Industries may be ordered to install pollution control devices. National Green Tribunal Act 2010. Fast justice. Citizens and NGOs can file complaints. They can order for compensation and restoration. Polluting industries can face closure or penalties. Some approaches that were taken were impact assessments were taken, constant monitoring, file complaints whenever required, enforce control technologies, and restore our ecosystem through afforestation and rehabilitation. Next, we have Singapore's traffic and air pollution management, where we understood the concept of ERP, electronic road pricing. This charges vehicles entering congested areas. Certificate of entitlement limits vehicle ownerships. Efficient public transport, MRT and bus systems reduce private vehicle use. Strict emission standards for cleaner fuel and vehicle regulations. Urban planning, integrated transport and land use planning. Like you have shared taxis, those could be used here. Improve your public transport, introduce congestion pricing in metro cities, promote electric vehicles, strengthen your norms, and encourage carpooling and cycling infrastructure. Carpooling is basically sharing, shared taxis and all. Next is renewable energy and socio-economic development. Here we will see impact of socio-economic development are reduced dependence on fossil fuels, generate employment opportunity, improves energy security, reduce green gas emissions, support your SDG goals. Now, Kyoto Protocol and Paris Agreement. Kyoto Protocol aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions, while the Paris Agreement focuses on limiting global warming below 2 degrees Celsius. Now let's see some Indian government reforms. National Solar Mission, promotion of wind energy, bioenergy and small hydro projects, PM Kusum scheme for solar pumps, PM scheme for electric vehicles. Some energy resources that we had talked about earlier, hydropower and green hydrogen are the new ones. You should know some of the protocols or reforms that were there. Then we have done catalytic converter. Do read this out, but I'll cover this part. Two techniques of controlling your air pollution. One is your electrostatic precipitator, where we remove the particulate matter. Second is a scrubbers, remove harmful gases from industrial emissions. Next is your electronic waste and EPR. Reasons for increase in e-waste, rapid advancement, short product life cycles, increased consumer demand, cheap consumer products. Role of consumer culture, frequently updating, desire for the latest technology, improper disposal habit. We don't dispose our waste properly. Waste should be disposed on the places where it's supposed to be, not on roadsides and all. Extended producer responsibilities. This we had covered. It makes the manufacturers responsible for collection, recycling, and safe disposal. Also, building of a environmentally friendly product design. EPR very important. Reduce landfill waste and encourages recycling. Next is disaster management in your densely populated areas. There, emergency response should be very active. Rescue operations, medical aid, food, water coordination. Coordination here is the communication that we were talking about earlier. In public communication also, we have issue emergency alerts, prevent rumors, use media properly for updates and not to create panic. Provide helpline numbers. Precautions. Then disaster management cycle, this we had done earlier, so I hope you may be knowing the mitigation, preparedness, response, recovery, and proper planning at each stage to reduce the disaster impact. Next, bioremediation of the contaminated soil. Bioremediation uses microorganisms to degrade pollutants into harmless substances. Now we'll understand them in detail. Biostimulation, adding nutrients to stimulate microbes. Bioaugmentation, introducing pollutant degrading microbes. Photo, photoremediation, using plants to observe the contaminants. Land farming is mixing this contaminated soil for microbial action. Temperature, pH, oxygen availability, moisture content, and nutrient availability can affect this degradation. They basically influence your microbial growth and your pollutant breakdown efficiency. Now, some probable contaminants in case of wastewater treatment are pathogens, heavy metals, pesticides, industrial chemicals, and organic waste. When we talk about BOD, biochemical oxygen demand, a high BOD reduces the dissolved oxygen in water, harming aquatic life. Chemical oxygen demand indicates chemical pollution level. A high COD reflects your severe contamination. Some solutions that we have talked about are sedimentation, filtration, using activated sludge, chlorination and UV disinfection, reverse osmosis, and public awareness and sanitation program. This solution part is important. Effluent treatment process. Now let's understand this in detail. Earlier we had only taken an overview. Now let's see each process. A screening chamber reduces large solids like plastics, debris. Equalization tank balances flow and pollutant concentration. Primary sedimentation settles suspended particles. Aeration tanks decompose organic matter using oxygen. Secondary clarifier use separates biological sludge from water. Filtration removes impurity. Disinfection is basically for killing all the pathogens. Sludge treatment is where sludge is treated and safely disposed. It reduces BOD, COD, suspended solids, and harmful contaminants. We understand each process or step in detail. So, have it would be clear now. When large solids, we use the screening. Equalization tank, balance flow. Now, primary sedimentation for suspended particles. Aeration tank, decompose. It is written biological treatment. This is for removing sludge. Filtration for killing pathogens. Disinfection for killing pathogens. Filtration is to remove impurity. And treated effluent is what you get. Sludge treatment is basically where safely disposed. The sludge is treated and it is safely disposed of. Now, Singapore case study and air quality. We have seen air electronic road pricing, we've seen certificate of entitlement, reduce congestion and limit the vehicle ownership. We saw we have to strong transport network needs to be there, promotion of fuel and electric vehicles. So now this is what we have covered. Now the question is suggestions for your Indian cities. So introduce congestion pricing in crowded zones. Improve metro and public transport. Encourage the use of electric vehicles and cycling. Develop green belts and urban forests. Strict emission monitoring system. Some Indian laws include Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act and National Clean Air Program (NGAP). Bharat Stage 6 emission norms. Promotion of electric mobility under the FAME scheme. These policies are helping in controlling vehicular and industrial emissions. If you want to write the full form, you can write FAME stands for Faster Adoption and Manufacturing of Hybrid and Electric Vehicles. This is basically related to your electric vehicles. Faster adoption and I'll write here faster adoption and manufacturing of hybrid and electric vehicles. Now, heavy metal pollution in Japan led to disease. It was caused by mercury discharge in waters by industry, affected the nervous system through contaminated fish consumption. So you see contaminated water into fish and from the fish to the humans. Itai disease caused by cadmium contamination from mining industries. It led to bone damage and kidney failure. Now this is a differentiate table where pollutant were mercury and cadmium, source were chemical industries, mining industries, affected the nervous system, bones and kidneys, fish consumption and contaminated water. Now relevance to us is that India imports large quantities of e-waste through the port cities. Improper recycling releases heavy metals. Informal recycling faces severe health risks. Therefore, strict e-waste management and monitoring are necessary. We have seen engineered landfill, we've seen its structure, we have done the 3 Rs. Now in waste management process, we basically collect the waste, segregate it, recycle, then engineered landfill disposal, and these manage only a non-recyclable waste. Alternate energy strategies and Indian policies include solar energy, wind energy, and biomass energy. You may be knowing solar energy, electricity from sunlight, wind energy to electricity. Biomass energy is basically your agricultural waste and your organic matter is used to produce your bioenergy. Now, some strategies to reduce your fossil fuel dependence and improving your energy security are National Solar Mission and your National Biofuel Policy. These policies promote renewable energy production and your sustainable development. Now, these are some tables where we're differentiating. First of all, catalytic converter and your bag filter. A catalytic converter is used in automobiles, bag filter is used in industries. It converts your toxic gases to harmless gases. It removes particulate matter. It uses catalysts like platinum. It uses fabric filters. Controls carbon monoxide and other gases. Where bag filter is used for controlling dust and ash. Next is radioactive waste and biomedical waste. It is produced from nuclear activities. It is produced in hospitals. It emits radiations, as you may have seen, and it contains infectious materials. Requires shielding, requires sterilization or incineration. Sterilization means like sanitization. You have to clean it properly because it contains infectious material. It can lead to long-term hazards and it could lead to biological hazard. Now, bioethanol and biogas. Liquid fuel, gaseous fuel, produced from sugar, starch, fermentation, produced from anaerobic digestion. Used in vehicles and used in cooking or electricity. Contains methane and it is mixed with petrol. This is important and this is important from exam point of view. This can be varied, like they can ask comparison of COX and NO. So I would not say that this is important, but you should know about all of the pollutants also. Next is NEP and EPA. NEP is basically a policy framework where EP is a legal framework. NEP guides sustainable development. EPA enforces environmental protection. NEP is advisory in nature, where EPA is legally binding. NEP broad environmental goals, EPA pollution control and penalties. NEP, we are not talking about national education policy, but environment policy. Bioremediation methods. One in situ bioventing, where air and nutrients are supplied into contaminated soil to stimulate microbes. Air in biosphergy, air is injected into the groundwater to increase oxygen for microbial degradation. In ex situ, we have land farming where contaminated soil is excavated and spread for microbial treatment. Excavated means, suppose this is the ground, it is excavated down and it is spread out for microbial treatment. Biopiles are basically this soil that we excavated is piled and aerated with oxygen for degradation. It is cost effective, environment friendly for treating your pollutants. Contaminated soil, we add nutrients, then there's microbial activity, breakdown of pollutants, and we get a clean soil and water. Now, these are some case studies that you should keep in mind when attempting the paper because the questions demand examples. Like, suppose Bhopal gas tragedy in case of a disaster management question. Main pollution or issue was MIC gas, methyl isocyanate. Then second is Minamata disease, water pollution, mercury, cadmium, heavy metal was Itatai disease. Project Tiger was a biodiversity conservation project. Singapore model air pollution for traffic emissions. Then Chernobyl is for nuclear disaster in radiation. Fukushima is nuclear disaster and for radiation leakage. Chipko movement you may be knowing for forest conservation, deforestation was the main issue. Silent Valley, biodiversity, forest protection. Delhi smog is for air pollution caused by vehicle pollution. Now, this is a very important slide where you have your important environmental laws. First is Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974. In this, it prevents and controls water pollution and maintains the water quality. Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981. It controls your air pollution from industries, vehicles, and other sources. Environment Protection Act provides overall protection and improvement of environment in India. National Green Tribunal Act establishes the National Green Tribunal for speedy environmental justice. Wildlife Protection Act protects wildlife, birds, endangered species from hunting and exploitation. Forest Conservation Act prevents deforestation and regulates use of forest land. Biological Diversity Act is used for conservation of diversity and promotes sustainable use of resources. Public Liability Insurance Act 1991 provides immediate compensation to victims of industrial accidents involving hazardous substances. Ensures safe handling, storage, transport and disposal in case of hazardous waste management rules of 2016. E-waste management rules of 2016 regulates collection, recycling, and disposal through EPR. Now, Bhopal gas tragedy. In this, remember poor maintenance, safety system failure, water entered the MIC tank, which led to a chemical reaction and heat generation. Then MIC gas leakage happened. Toxic gas spread across Bhopal, human deaths, health problems, soil and water pollution. Then came into government action and new environment laws. So that was all for today's lecture. We covered so many topics. We practiced all possible types of questions that would come from these topics. So that was all for today's video. If you liked the video, do like, share, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you have any doubts, do mention them in the comment section and I'll be answering them as soon as possible. So thank you. Bye bye.